Today I want to talk to you about fighting the help that God has sent for you. When God sends you help to deliver you from your bondages, how does God do that? God does that through people. God sends help to you to help you, deliver you through people. But what does the enemy do? The enemy does not want you to accept the help that God is sending you. So the enemy wants to create you to fight the help that God sends you. If you go with me to Acts chapter 7, verses 23 onwards, it tells a story of Moses. And it says that when Moses was 40 years old, it came to his heart to visit his brethren, and he did. And when he visited his brethren, he saw that the Egyptians were mistreating the Israelites. So he rose up then and he avenged them. And it says that he ended up killing an Egyptian. The very next day, Moses went back and he saw two Israelites fighting. And he tried to intervene again and reconcile them. But the Israelite rose up and he said, "Who made you ruler and judge over us? Do you want to kill me as you did the Egyptian yesterday?" The Israelite that God had sent Moses to help rose up and fought Moses and said, "Who made you judge and ruler over me?" Those words sent Moses away. Those words from the Israelites made Moses go away into the mountains for 40 years, into the desert for 40 years he was gone. The help that God had sent the Israelites was pushed away for 40 years because of a misunderstanding. That's what the enemy wants to do to us. What does the enemy want to do? He wants us to first misunderstand the help that God sends us. And with that misunderstanding, we get offended. And with that offense in our hearts, we fight the help that God sends us. And then finally, the enemy wants us to separate ourselves from the help that God sends for us. He wants us to push the help back and say, "I don't need your help. I can take care of myself." But when God had sent that deliverer to help us, in Acts 7:25, it says, "For he supposed that his brethren would have understood that God would deliver them by his hand, but they did not understand." Here, the word of God is saying that Moses supposed that his brothers would understand that God would deliver them by his hand, but they did not understand. We cannot be found in the same position of the Israelites, that we will not understand the help that God has sent for us. We have to be wise children of God that understand help when God sends it to us. From today onwards, when your heart starts to fight, or when your heart starts to get offended, or when your heart starts to misunderstand the help that God has sent you, I want us to pause and think, why am I getting offended? Why am I not misunderstanding God's help? Why am I fighting the help that God has sent me? Is it me, or is the enemy want to separate me from my help? So I want us to pause every time we get offended, every time we want to fight, and every time we want to separate ourselves from our help, and question it and say, is it me, or am I allowing the enemy to separate me from my help? I hope this word has helped you, that you will stop fighting the help that God has sent you, because we don't want 40 years for our deliverance. We want the help that God has sent us now to act now, not in 40 years. So I hope this word has helped you, blessed you, and if it has, like, comment, and share.